So, we as animals are habitual animals. We're herding animals. We like routine, we like familiarity, we like behavior. So, we get into these routines, daily routines. And they shift at certain parts of our lives depending on what's going on. As we're kids, we have a certain routine that's enforced by the household, by our parents, what time we go to bed, what we do, what we eat, schooling, all that stuff is routine. Then we leave home and we start a whole other set of routines. So determined by where we live or what we're doing, if we're going to a university or going to a job, and we create habits around that. We fall into habits quite quickly. And then another shift, maybe another moment in life, marriage or kids or buying a house or something, and then we get into routine. But we're always shifting our routine around these behaviors. So we're setting it in place. And we just slide into it and we find comfort in that. Good morning, Attila. How are you doing? And that brings us comfort. These habits and routine, they determine our lives. If you think, if I do something every day, what will I have accomplished at the end of the year? I will, it could be, I want to work on something physically. I want more flexible hips. So if I work on my hip flexors, stretch them out, every single day, within a certain period of time, I'm going to have more flexible hips. Or maybe it's, I want to write a children's book. If I work on my children's book every single day, over time, I will eventually end up with a book. That gives me the life I have. The same as in adverse habits and routines. If I do something detrimental to my health every day, I will start sliding into disharmony. For example, if I eat or drink something that's not healthy for me, or if I have a behavior, if I'm sitting a lot, and we know how bad sitting is, and my ischial tuberosity, my sit bone, is turning off my glute and making that weak, or shortening my hip flexors. These things give us our lives. So it's up to us to determine what those patterns are, and we can get the outcome that we want. But it's not that easy, because it's not usually a lack of knowledge. I know that if I create certain habits, if I do certain things, I'm going to get these results. Most people know that. So it's not an issue of lack of knowledge that determine our behaviors. There's something else driving it. And that's what I want to talk about today, and that's what I want to focus on, is what is driving these behaviors. And typically it's comfort, seeking comfort or avoiding discomfort. So I do things in my life because they feel good, or because I get a good sensation, or I'm escaping something. But what is it I'm escaping? So there's things like that bring me gratification, that bring me pleasure. Those are the things that I want to focus on. If you look at your day, if you assess your day and look at what you do primarily in your day, what it's consumed with, you'll find behaviors that aren't contributing to what you want to achieve in life, which is fine. Not everything has to, but it's taking the ratio of your day and what you're doing and how that's going to have an effect long-term on your life. The health that I work with, like I said, that our programs are a year long. They're a year because we want to evolve these behaviors into your lifestyle, so then your goals become a byproduct of your lifestyle. We don't want to use a sledgehammer and force behavior into your life, and so you can handle it for a short period of time and then you break down and go back to your old behaviors. It's very common now to hear about these life hacks and these quick fixes that were going to really profoundly change your life. And those, they're fine. They sometimes have a profound effect, but it's really over time that it makes a difference. It's like natural medicine or herbs. Herbs, if I drink herbal teas or take herbal remedies, I'm not going to feel a massively powerful effect typically right away. But if I keep doing it over time, I'm going to have that profound effect. So we got to determine what we want to have, what outcome we want, and then what is going to contribute to that outcome. And also what behaviors are distracting us from it, are taking us away from it, and why we have those behaviors. And so that's what I want to talk about first, is why do we do what we do? So why do we have these behaviors in place? And as I said, they're seeking comfort and discomfort. But why does that particular thing give me comfort? There's one element which is biogenic traits. These are traits that all humans have, and we're biogenically coded with them. So they're things like the desire for high caloric food. I have that biogenic trait because we're coded for scarcity. So this developed in a time before we got the civilization we had. And I had to get a strong motivation to go get food. And then once I had the food, I got a very strong pleasure response. So now I'm using that pleasure response to mask something else, to escape from something. So I might have a feeling of anxiety, of stress, and I'm using these behaviors, these pleasure responses, to mask what my base sensation is. Other things are like watching TV or drinking or even gossiping with friends. Those things are, I'm not saying that they're bad to do. We should understand why we're doing them. Because if they're habitual in our lives, that's the life we're going to get. So what's important is that we start to disarm these. We start to break them down and understand where they come from. So that's a whole slew of biogenic traits. And all humans have them, no matter where you're from in the world. I travel and live with different cultures, different indigenous tribes around the world. They have these same biogenic traits. The other part is sociogenic. So what is the society I grew up in? What's the habits that they have? So in the family I grew up in, we sit down and have dinner. We sit at a dinner table and have dinner. That's a habit. It's a routine that we do. And there are other ones. You can think of your cultures you grew up in and the habits you have from that. And then there's idiogenic traits, the personal ones to me. It might be social media. I might be on social media just to fulfill my ego because I feel good if people join. Or I might be on there to try and contribute. Hey, if you learn this, it's going to really have a profound shift on your life, and I've had some experience with it, and it really helped me, so here I'm going to deliver it. But it's an idiogenic, it's personal to me. And so those behaviors are determining my habit. So I get pleasure out of one doing something versus another. And so that's my draw to doing that behavior. So I have to disarm that if I want to change or shift my habits and behaviors. I'm sure a lot of you have tried forcing in a new habit. Hey, I'm going to start an exercise routine, or I'm going to accomplish this big project. I'm going to clear out a room that's untidy. And you might start off determined, but then slowly you're going to lose interest. And that losing interest is just, it's not giving you any pleasure. And so we're controlled by these puppet strings of comfort and discomfort. And so we got to disarm that. We got to make it go away. And then we can start from a clean slate, and then we can load on there new behaviors and habits, and it's way easier than fighting against it. There are tools that I spoke about yesterday, and I'm still trying to figure out how to post these. I'm having trouble sending them because of the internet. The load is so challenged right now. But I'm going to get them up onto YouTube so you guys can go back and watch these talks, because there are tools that I talked about yesterday that help you get to this blank slate. And I'm going to talk about if you look at my Instagram, there's a list of all these talks I'm doing. There's one, catharsis. That's a really important one because it gets clearing stuff so then you can start from a blank slate. Because most people make the mistake of trying to load behaviors on top of the already existing patterns. And that's just a struggle. You can do it. Like the common idea is that it takes 21 days to create a new habit. Which is true. In most studies it shows the same thing. But it's a big struggle if you're loading those habits on these behaviors and what's driving these behaviors. Successful people don't have any special qualities. They're no different from everyone else. They just have behaviors in place that create that success in their life. So they do things that cause success. It can be that they stay up later answering these emails or finishing a project, and they accomplish more than a lot of other people. It doesn't mean they're better, they just get results from that. It could have positive results and negative results. What's driving them may not be positive. It may be, I have a fear of, maybe they felt vulnerable at one point in their life, and having a high income makes them feel more secure. And so they're going to do behaviors that mitigate that potential feeling of discomfort. So they can create that behavior that gets them the results, and that's what's driving them. They're not in control of that. That's forcing them to a certain behaviors. There might be ones that they have determined, hey, I'm going to have this behavior because it's going to give me a positive result. And it could be something like, hey, I want to accomplish a certain level of fitness. Now that becomes non-negotiable to them. And so that's the only way that you're going to create these patterns that are going to get you the results you want. And once you've got them in place, you just go along with your routine, and that routine is getting you to your goals. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to force this in or struggle or anything like that. It's just part of your lifestyle. As I mentioned, it may be driven by something negative. So you want to always unpack that. You want to be in control to choose what's driving you. So another example of someone they might be successful in creating a project. It might be, I want to create a charity for whatever it is, for animals. I need to be determined to keep doing that every day, so then I will accomplish what I want to accomplish at the end of that time period. So I might not feel like doing it, but there's a motivator, there's a commitment that I made to accomplishing this. And so I'm going to be committed to that. I'm not going to negotiate. Now, who are you negotiating with? It's not typical that you decide, hey, I'm going to run tomorrow morning, and then the alarm goes off for you to get up and run, and there's someone there to negotiate with. No, you do it with yourself. And here's the problem, is that we know ourselves. So we know which negotiation tactic is going to work. And we use these reasons or these justifications, how to get out of it. And once it's successful, we drop off with that behavior that's going to get us the goals we want. So we end up our life is determined by these reasons and justifications, as opposed to